Patrick Hicks Music Stories presents Ranking Every Grammys Ever. So recently I've been doing a series called Every Grammys Ever, where I have reviewed all 66 Grammy Awards from 1959 to the present. And now, because I am a music nerd, I want to rank them. Now I've seen other people rank every Grammy Album of the Year winner, but I am going to rank the show as a whole. So I'm going to consider the four big categories: Song of the Year, Record of the Year, Album of the Year, and Best New Artist. By the way, another reminder, Song and Record of the Year are both for individual songs, but Song is for the songwriter and Record is for the artist and producer. Another note, I did make for fun my own ranking of all the Album of the Year winners, and that is a very different list than this list, so keep that in mind. Although number one on both lists was 1984. This was the Michael Jackson year, so the Album of the Year was Thriller, Record of the Year Beat It, Song of the Year was Every Breath You Take by The Police, and Best New Artist was Culture Club. And I think this was about as perfect a Grammys as you can get. This struck the perfect balance between critical acclaim, commercial success, and impact on the culture. Something that the Grammys is usually not very good at, but they really nailed it this year. It also had a lot of great performances, although not from Michael himself, but I'm probably not going to take the performances too much into account. Number 2, 1974. This was the year of Stevie Wonder's Inner Visions. Song and Record of the Year both went to Roberta Flack's Killing Me Softly, and Best New Artist went to Bette Midler. I'm not like the biggest Bette Midler fan, but I can't deny that she is an important artist that had a big impact on the culture, so I think these were all good choices. Number 3, 1971. This is Simon & Garfunkel's Bridge Over Troubled Water. It won Album of the Year, Record of the Year, and Song of the Year, and then Best New Artist went to The Carpenters. Pretty solid all-around year. Number 4, 1994. This is the Bodyguard soundtrack. Record of the Year went to I Will Always Love You. Song of the Year should have also gone to that, but because it wasn't a new song, they had changed the rules, so Dolly Parton wasn't eligible. Instead, it went to A Whole New World from Aladdin, which I don't love, but Best New Artist was Toni Braxton, another great choice, so overall, really good year. Number 5, 1996. This is the year of Alanis Morissette's Jagged Little Pill. Song and Record of the Year was Kiss from a Rose by Seal. And Best New Artist was Hootie and the Blowfish. That one's not my favorite pick, but Jagged Little Pill is such a good pick, I think it tips the scales and makes this top 5. Number 6, 1972. This is the Carole King year, where Tapestry won Album of the Year, and then she won Song and Record of the Year with different songs. Song was You've Got a Friend, which was also covered by James Taylor, which gave it a little boost, and Record of the Year was It's Too Late. And then Best New Artist, very solid pick, Carly Simon. Number 7, I kind of surprised myself with how high this one was, but 2002, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou soundtrack. A really fun, weird pick. Kind of a reminder that the Grammys don't have to pick the most critically acclaimed album of the year in order to be relevant. They just have to pick an album that's not crazy. And this was a phenomenon. It raised the star of artists like Alison Krauss and brought back a lot of artists that were forgotten. Really cool story. Record of the Year went to U2's Walk On. I'm on the record as not being a big fan of late period U2, but this is a good song. And then Song of the Year was Alicia Keys' Fallen, and Alicia Keys was also Best New Artist, which is like a 5 out of 5 Best New Artist pick. Number 8, 1985. Now this is one of my least favorite Album of the Year winners. It's Lionel Richie's Can't Slow Down, which beat out Prince, Bruce Springsteen, and Tina Turner. But it's not a horrible album, it just shouldn't have won. Then Record and Song of the Year did go to Tina Turner's What's Love Got to Do With It, and Best New Artist was great with Cyndi Lauper. Number 9, 1973, The Concert for Bangladesh. This was a great Album of the Year winner, and then Song and Record of the Year went to The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face by Roberta Flack. The song was written by the folk singer Ewan McCall, so it's an extra cool little thing there. Best New Artist was okay, it was America, but the rest of the picks were really good. Next up, 1965. Now this was the year of the Beatles at the Grammys, and while they didn't win Album of the Year, that went to the jazz record Gets Gilberto, they did win Best New Artist, which is like a 6 out of 5 Best New Artist win. That's so good, I think it propels it this high on the list. Record of the Year was The Girl from Ipanema, and Song of the Year was Hello Dolly by Louis Armstrong, or Louis Armstrong if you want to be pedantic. Number 11, the year 2000. This was the year of Santana. This is when he tied Michael Jackson's record for the most Grammy wins in one night. His album Supernatural won Album of the Year, and then the song Smooth with Rob Thomas won Song and Record of the Year. Best New Artist was also pretty solid, Christina Aguilera. Overall, it's hard to argue with this night. Supernatural was such a phenomenon, it was a huge commercial success, and it had a real impact on the culture. I mean, these songs, these videos were inescapable. Just like I want the Grammys to strike a balance between critical and commercial and cultural, I'm trying to strike a balance between my own personal taste and what I think were good picks. I did really like Santana's work in the 60s. This wasn't the kind of music I was listening to in the year 2000, but I think this is a good year. Number 12, 1988. It's just so hard at the Grammys for them to nail all 4 big categories. In this one, Album of the Year was excellent. Joshua Tree by U2. Record of the Year was pretty good, Graceland. The title track from Paul Simon's Graceland, which we'll see elsewhere on this list. But then the song was Somewhere Out There, the song from American Tail. And Best New Artist was Jodie Watley, not the strongest Best New Artist pick. Number 13, 2017. This is a pretty modern one. This is the year of Adele's 25. It did beat out Beyoncé's Lemonade, which was a little controversial, but it's a good album on its own. Plus, Song and Record of the Year went to her song Hello, which was a strong choice. And then Best New Artist went to Chance the Rapper, which maybe his career hasn't panned out as well as some Best New Artist winners, but I mean, this is like the Celtics drafting Len Bias. Like, this was the right pick at the time. We didn't know he was going to make the big day. Just under that, I have at number 14, 2019. This is the year that Casey Musgraves' Golden Hour won Album of the Year. Then Song and Record of the Year went to the first and only hip-hop song to ever win, Childish Gambino's This Is America. Hopefully that changes this year. And then Best New Artist, also a really good pick, Dua Lipa. Number 15, 2021. This is, I think, the best of Taylor Swift's 4 Album of the Year wins. This is when she won for Folklore. Not saying that's her best album, but this was the year where it deserved to win the most. Song of the Year was I Can't Breathe by her. Record of the Year was Everything I Wanted by Billie Eilish. And then Best New Artist was Megan Thee Stallion. Really strong overall year. I kind of think of these in terms of Roger Ebert had a quote that I'm going to butcher about movies where he said something like, a good movie is 3 good scenes and no bad ones. So you're going to see on this list years where there were no bad picks being higher than years where there were great picks and bad picks. Okay, number 16, 1982. This was John Lennon's Double Fantasy year. Song and Record of the Year was a good pick, Kim Carnes' Betty Davis Eyes. And then Best New Artist was Sheena Easton. Number 17, 2020. This is the Billie Eilish sweep year. Only 2 artists have ever swept the big 4 awards at the Grammys. I have Billie Eilish a lot higher than the other one, Christopher Cross. I think she's already proved since then that she has more longevity as an artist, so I'm going with this one. Her album was When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go? Song and Record of the Year were Bad Guy, and she was Best New Artist. Kind of boring, but good year. Number 18, 2022. This is the year of Jon Batiste's We Are, which was a fairly controversial Album of the Year pick, but Song and Record of the Year were pretty good. Leave the Door Open by Silk Sonic, but what really brought this up into the top 20 was Olivia Rodrigo, Best New Artist. Number 19, 1968. Okay, this is where I wanted to clarify that this is not just an Album of the Year ranking, because this is the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper, which would be like top 1 or 2 if we were just talking about albums, but Song and Record of the Year both went to the Fifth Dimension song Up, Up, and Away, which is just not the best song they could have chosen. Best New Artist was Bobby Gentry, who it was a good pick at the time, but she didn't quite go on to the career of previous Best New Artists like, say, the Beatles, so 19. Number 20, 1989. This is the year of George Michael's Faith, very solid record. Song and Record of the Year, it's a little hard for me to judge. It's the song Don't Worry, Be Happy, which maybe I'm just too young to appreciate. That's probably the only time I'll say that during this video, but to me it just feels like a novelty song, even though I do think Bobby McFerrin is really talented. Then you have Best New Artist, Tracy Chapman. Great pick. Probably should have been the Album of the Year too. Number 21, 1976. This is the year that Stevie Wonder didn't release an album, so Paul Simon got his second Album of the Year win with the album Still Crazy After All These Years. Record of the Year is pretty good. It's Love Will Keep Us Together by the Captain and Tennille. Song of the Year, I think, tanks this year. It's Send in the Clowns by Judy Collins. But then the Best New Artist is really good, Natalie Cole. Number 22, 1959, Part 2. So there were 2 Grammy Awards in 1959, the first and the second Grammys. This is the second one, which I think was a little bit better. You had Frank Sinatra winning with Come Dance With Me, then Bobby Darin taking the first Best New Artist award, plus Record of the Year for his cover of Mac the Knife, and then Song of the Year went to Jimmy Driftwood's song Battle of New Orleans. No bad picks here. Number 23, 2012. This is the year of Adele's 21. She also won Song and Record of the Year with the song Rolling in the Deep. All pretty uncontroversial. Best New Artist went to Bon Iver, which was controversial to Nicki Minaj, who he beat, but is not a crazy pick. Number 24, 1969. Album of the Year was Glenn Campbell's By the Time I Get to Phoenix. Song of the Year was the song Little Green Apples, which is a good song, hasn't had the lasting impact as some of the other songs in the category, including the Record of the Year winner, which was Mrs. Robinson by Simon & Garfunkel. That's like a 5 out of 5 pick, and then Best New Artist is also really good. It went to Jose Feliciano. Number 25, 2010. I like this year because it's fairly diverse. Album of the Year was Taylor Swift's Fearless. It probably shouldn't have won over Beyoncé, but it's not even Taylor Swift's most egregious win. Record of the Year went to Kings of Leon's Use Somebody. Song of the Year was Beyoncé's Single Ladies, and Best New Artist went to Zac Brown Band. So I don't know, my personal taste, I wouldn't have picked any of those, but none of them are bad. Number 26, 1966. So a lot of people think of this as one of the years that Frank Sinatra unfairly beat the Beatles, but his album September of My Years was actually a really great record. Was it as good as the Beatles' Help? No, but it was a good album. Song of the Year was The Shadow of Your Smile by Tony Bennett. Record of the Year was A Taste of Honey by Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass. And then Best New Artist was Tom Jones. Now, do these picks all completely ignore the most exciting things happening in music? Do they totally ignore the British invasion and Motown? Yes, they do. So why is it this high on the list? Because the Grammys are terrible, so most of the rest of the years are very hit and miss. Number 27, 1970. Blood, Sweat, and Tears took Album of the Year, which I really don't like as an Album of the Year pick. I ranted enough in the video I did on that year, but the rest of the categories were not bad. Record of the Year was The Fifth Dimension again with Aquarius, Let the Sun Shine In. Song of the Year was Games People Play, and Best New Artist was a 5 out of 5, Crosby, Stills, and Nash. Number 28, 2008. Now, if you've been following my series, you're probably surprised at this one because I think Herbie Hancock's River, the Joni Letters is one of the worst Album of the Year picks of all time, but this year is saved by Amy Winehouse. Song and Record of the Year went to Rehab, she won Best New Artist. Maybe this is the year I should have used the Len Bias analogy, but pretty good year. Number 29, 2014. Now this was a really good year, but sunk by one thing. Album of the Year is Daft Punk's Random Access Memories. Record of the Year is Get Lucky, which is a song I probably never want to listen to again, but at the time it was a great pick. Song of the Year was Lord's Royals, but then Best New Artist went to Macklemore and Ryan Lewis. They won this over Casey Musgraves and, more importantly, Kendrick Lamar. This is also the night that the album The Heist beat Kendrick's Good Kid, Mad City, so that really brings down the night. Okay, at 30, I have 2009. This is the Album of the Year win for Robert Plant and Alison Krauss with Raising Sand. They also won Record of the Year for their song Please Read the Letter, and then Song of the Year was Coldplay's Viva La Vida. And then what really bumps this one up for me is Best New Artist went to Adele. Okay, now these next 2 years might be controversial. At 31, I have 1999. This is The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill year. Again, if this was an Album of the Year ranking, this is top 5. But Song and Record of the Year both went to Celine Dion's My Heart Will Go On, which to me is on like Satan's playlist in hell. I actually really hate that this song is in the same year as Lauryn Hill. Lauryn Hill also won Best New Artist, so very 50-50 year. Now this next one I could also see people going either way on. It's 1986. Album of the Year was Phil Collins' No Jacket Required. Best New Artist was fantastic, Sade. But Song and Record of the Year went to the song We Are the World. Probably track 2 on Satan's playlist. I hate this song. 33, I have 2006. This is when U2 got their second Album of the Year win, although this one they did not deserve. It's for the album How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb. They also won Song of the Year for Sometimes You Can't Make It on Your Own, which is a good song. Record of the Year went to Green Day for the song Boulevard of Broken Dreams. It's the only song by a punk band in the history of the Grammys to get a Big 4 win, so I'll take it. And then really good Best New Artist, it went to John Legend. Now number 34, I have 1979. Album of the Year went to the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack. Solid pick, very of the moment, impact on culture, something that the Grammys don't always nail, but that's pretty good this year. Best New Artist went to A Taste of Honey, who I've seen some people say is an example of the Best New Artist curse, but it was a good, relevant pick at the time. And Song and Record of the Year went to Billy Joel's Just the Way You Are. I just hate how the Grammys always give Song and Record of the Year to a corny ballad. Speaking of Billy Joel, at 35, I have 1980, which is when Billy Joel won Album of the Year for 52nd Street. Song and Record of the Year went to the Doobie Brothers for What a Fool Believes. And Best New Artist went to Ricky Lee Jones. No bad picks here, this could be higher depending on how much you love yacht rock. Okay, number 36. I could see how people could think that 1980 was too low, and I could see how people could think that this year, 1991, is too high. Song of the Year went to Phil Collins' Another Day in Paradise. Record of the Year went to Bette Midler's From a Distance. Both songs that have been named some of the worst songs of all time. But Best New Artist was an all-time great pick with Mariah Carey. And then Album of the Year is Quincy Jones' Back on the Block, which I'm not going to say is an album I bust out to listen to all the time, but it was an interesting experiment. Quincy Jones definitely deserves his props, so this isn't bad. 37, 2011. Album of the Year, I think was a good pick, Arcade Fire's The Suburbs, although some people disagreed with me when I did this episode, but I think that's a good pick. Best New Artist was also really interesting, Esperanza Spalding. Song and Record of the Year, I didn't love Need You Now by Lady A. Pretty mid-year, so it goes in the middle of the list. Number 38, 1978. Now this was definitely a year of highs and lows. Song of the Year, for the only time in history, was a tie between two equally bad songs. Debbie Boone's You Light Up My Life and Evergreen Love Theme from A Star Is Born. And then Best New Artist was also bad, it went to Debbie Boone, but Record of the Year was good, Hotel California, and Album of the Year was great, Fleetwood Mac's Rumors. Number 39, 2023. Another pretty uneven year. I like all the picks well enough, just don't really love them. Harry's House for Album of the Year, Lizzo's About Damn Time took Record of the Year, Bonnie Raitt's Just Like That was Song of the Year, and then Best New Artist was Samara Joy. Also, basically on the same level as number 40, I have 2024. This is Taylor Swift's record-breaking 4th Album of the Year win for Midnights, which was definitely not my Album of the Year, but it's not the worst pick the Grammys have ever made. Record of the Year was Miley Cyrus's Flowers. Song of the Year was What Was I Made For by Billie Eilish. And Best New Artist was Victoria Monet. Number 41, 1983. Now some people are going to have this way higher if you're a big yacht rock fan. I'm not really. Album of the Year was Toto 4, and Record of the Year was Rosanna. Then Song of the Year was Always on My Mind by Willie Nelson. And Best New Artist was Men at Work. So again, this year's kind of in the middle for me. Number 42, 2007. This one's kind of hard to rank because I'm not at all a fan of modern country music. This is the year of Dixie Chicks. They took Album of the Year with Taking the Long Way, Song and Record of the Year with Not Ready to Make Nice. And then Best New Artist was also a country singer, Carrie Underwood. And I don't know, there's a lot that I just don't like about this. I don't like an American Idol winner being Best New Artist. I think the story of the Chicks was better than the actual music, but again, it's not the worst. Okay, 2016. Now we're getting into some all-time bad territory because the Album of the Year was Taylor Swift's 1989, which is not a terrible record on its own, but it beat Kendrick Lamar's To Pimp a Butterfly, one of the worst upsets of all time. So that really tanks the night. Record of the Year is Bruno Mars's Uptown Funk. That's fine. Ed Sheeran wins Song of the Year for Thinking Out Loud. And then Best New Artist goes to Meghan Trainor. I would have rather see it go to Courtney Barnett, but it's not the hugest upset. Number 44, 1959, Part 1. So the original, the first ever Grammys. This one is kind of hard to rank because there's no Best New Artist this year. Album of the Year went to Henry Mancini's The Music from Peter Gunn, and both Song and Record of the Year went to the song Volare. Those are all pretty solid. It's the first Grammys, it was fine. Number 45, 1995. Now when I was first thinking about this list, this was one of 2 awards that I immediately thought of as being the worst ever, but really it's only Album of the Year that's really bad. It's Tony Bennett's MTV Unplugged. The rest are not bad. Record of the Year is Sheryl Crow's All I Want to Do. She also wins Best New Artist. And then Song of the Year is Streets of Philadelphia by Bruce Springsteen. Not bad picks. I just really hate this awards because of all the great music from 1994 that did not get recognized. Number 46. I actually thought this one would be higher, but 2004. This is the first and only year that a hip-hop album has won Album of the Year. It went to Outkast's Speakerboxxx The Love Below. That was great. The rest is bad. Record of the Year went to Coldplay's Clocks. Song of the Year went to Luther Vandross's Dance with My Father. Best New Artist went to Evanescence over 50 Cent, who really owned 2003. Just a pretty bad year. Next, number 47, 2015. So this was the year of Beck beating Beyonce, and he beat her with this album Morning Phase, which is not one of his best albums. Pretty bad upset, and the rest of the awards don't do enough to save it. Song and Record of the Year both went to Sam Smith's Stay With Me, and Sam Smith won Best New Artist. At 48, I have 1981. This is the other year where the same artist swept all Big Four categories. That's Christopher Cross. He wins Album of the Year, Best New Artist, and his song Sailing wins Song and Record of the Year. You could have this higher if you're a real big Christopher Cross fan, but even just looking at him as Best New Artist, like for me, a great Best New Artist winner is one who goes on to have a great career, and Christopher Cross never really hit the high of this album again. Although according to him, that's MTV's fault, so who knows. Number 49. Okay, this is one of the all-time, if not the worst snub ever here, 1967. This is the year that Frank Sinatra's A Man and His Music, which was not even an album of new songs, it was old re-recorded songs, beat out the Beatles' Revolver. That pick is so bad that it drops this year way down on the list, although the rest of the picks are not bad. It's also low on the list because there is no Best New Artist this year, despite there being lots of great new artists. I still don't understand what happened there, but Song and Record of the Year are actually pretty good. Song of the Year is the Beatles' Michelle, their only song or Record of the Year win. And then Record of the Year is Frank Sinatra's Strangers in the Night, which was a new song that wasn't on A Man and His Music, it was a new single. Number 50, 1961. So there are only 2 years in Grammy history where a comedian won Album of the Year, and I'm just going to do them back to back. I'll rank Bob Newhart slightly higher since it stands the test of time a little more than the other one. He won Album of the Year and Best New Artist. Song and Record of the Year are both pretty weak. Song of the Year was the theme from Exodus. It's the only instrumental song to ever win Song of the Year, and Record of the Year was Percy Faith's theme from A Summer Place. In the 60s, they gave a lot of Grammys to songs from movies. I don't love it. Then at 51, I have 1963, which is Von Meter's The First Family. This was a comedy album from a satirist who did a John F. Kennedy impression, and then his career was kind of ruined when John F. Kennedy was assassinated. It's a really fascinating story, not the best album of the year win. Then record of the year was Tony Bennett's I Left My Heart in San Francisco. Song of the year was What Kind of Fool Am I by Sammy Davis Jr., and Best New Artist was Robert Goulet. Okay, number 52. Now the next few here I feel guilty about, but I think that I'm right. 1977. Album of the year was Stevie Wonder's Songs in the Key of Life, but the rest of the awards are terrible. Record of the year is This Masquerade by George Benson. Song of the year is I Write the Songs by Barry Manilow. And Best New Artist is one of the quintessential Best New Artist curse bands. It's Starland Vocal Band. So we're only 1 for 4 in the Big Four, and even though that one is really, really great, it's not enough to save the whole year. Number 53, I have 1987. This is the year of Paul Simon's Graceland, a really great album. Record of the year is a song I like, Higher Love by Steve Winwood, but Song of the year is another one of those songs that's on a loop in hell. That's what friends are for. And Best New Artist isn't much better. It's Bruce Hornsby and the Range. Ugh, bad year. Next, 1975. I hate to do it. It's another Stevie Wonder album, filling this first finale. Amazing record, very underrated album from his classic period, but the rest of the category is terrible. Record of the year, Olivia Newton-John's I Honestly Love You. Song of the year, The Way We Were by Barbra Streisand. And Best New Artist was Marvin Hamlish. Number 55, 1962. This is one of the only years that's really sunk by Best New Artist. In this case, it was Peter Nero. Bad choice. Song and Record of the Year are Moon River by Henry Mancini. And then Album of the Year went to Judy Garland's Live at Carnegie Hall. This was really cool. She's the first woman to win Album of the Year, but overall, not a great year. Number 56, 2018. Also pretty bad. Bruno Mars wins Album of the Year for 24K Magic. He also wins Record of the Year with 24K Magic, and then Song of the Year with That's What I Like. All very mid, especially compared to what he beat out, like Kendrick Lamar's Damn. Best New Artist is also not great. Alicia Cara getting it over SZA. Not a good year. 57, 2013. This is Mumford & Sons' Babel, which is just such a weird choice. I still can't get over this one. Record of the year goes to Song I Love, It's Somebody That I Used to Know by Gautier. But then Song of the Year goes to We Are Young by Fun, and Fun wins Best New Artist over Alabama Shakes and Frank Ocean. It's not the worst pick if you think of Jack Antonoff as a producer winning Best New Artist, but I just really don't like Fun. Okay, now we're getting into truly abysmal territory. At 58, 1992. Some people say this is the worst Grammys ever. I don't think so because I like Natalie Cole. She wins Album of the Year for Unforgettable with Love and Song and Record of the Year for Unforgettable. It's a good song. She's a good artist. It's just what she beat out. This is 1992. This is the year that they could have given Grammys to Nirvana and Pearl Jam, Guns N' Roses. So many great artists. This was just such a miss. And then Best New Artist is also one of the all-time worst. It's Marc Cohn, who only had one song, Walking in Memphis. Okay, at 59, 1998. Now this was a really fun Grammys to watch because there were all sorts of crazy moments, and Album of the Year I actually think is a really good winner. It's Bob Dylan's Time Out of Mind. It probably should have gone to Radiohead's OK Computer, but this is a really good album. But the rest is just, the worst of the 90s. Song and Record of the Year both go to Sean Colvin for the song Sunny Came Home, and then Best New Artist went to Paula Cole. Okay, number 60, 1993. This is the year of Eric Clapton winning MTV Unplugged. I'm on the record about how much I do not like Eric Clapton, but Song and Record of the Year went to Tears in Heaven, and that was a big song. People did like this. They're terrible choices, but more defensible than the next 5 on the list. And the Best New Artist was pretty good. It was Arrested Development. At 61, I have 1964. So Album of the Year is not bad. It's Barbra Streisand's The Barbra Streisand Album. But Song and Record of the Year are a big miss for me. It's Days of Wine and Roses by Henry Mancini, which Henry Mancini has a lot of great work, and I just think that this song is not one of his best. And then Best New Artist is terrible. It's the Swingle Singers. And this is a year when they could have given Grammys to Bob Dylan, and he wasn't even nominated. Number 62, 2003. This was the Norah Jones year. She wins Album of the Year, Song and Record of the Year for Don't Know Why, and Best New Artist. But she didn't write Don't Know Why, that's why it's not a sweep like Christopher Cross and Billie Eilish, but it was a song that she made famous singing. But this is just really the Grammys at their worst and most boring. Number 63, 1990. So Album of the Year was good, a good album, a great story, Bonnie Raitt's Nick of Time, but the rest are really bad. Song and Record of the Year went to Bette Midler's Wind Beneath My Wings, which I think is one of the worst songs of all time. You might disagree. My wife actually really likes that song, but I hate it. And then Best New Artist was Milli Vanilli, which they then rescinded, so technically there's no Best New Artist for this year. All right, now we are down to the 3 worst. Number 64, I have 2001. This is the year of Steely Dan's Two Against Nature, beating out Radiohead and Beck and Eminem. I know this album has its defenders, but I think this is just a horrible pick. And then Song and Record of the Year both went to U2 for Beautiful Day. Best New Artist was really forgettable. It didn't do anything to save it. Shelby Lynne. This is just the Grammys at their most out of touch. But it's not quite as bad as number 65, which is 1997. This is the year of Celine Dion's Falling Into You, beating out records like Beck's Odelay, The Smashing Pumpkins' Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, and the Fugees' The Score. Song and Record of the Year went to Eric Clapton's Change the World. And Best New Artist was Leanne Rimes, who won over Jewel, Garbage, and No Doubt. Just a truly abysmal year. And the only thing worse, I think, is 66, the worst Grammys of all time, 2005. This was the year that they gave Album of the Year to Ray Charles for his posthumous album Genius Loves Company, beating out Green Day's American Idiot, Usher's Confessions, Alicia Keys' The Diary of Alicia Keys, and Kanye West's The College Dropout. They also gave Record of the Year to his song Here We Go Again with Norah Jones. Then Song of the Year went to John Mayer's Daughters, and Best New Artist went to Maroon 5. This year is half dead, half herpes. So that's my ranking of every Grammys ever. We'll have to see where the 67th Grammys fits in. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time when I'm going to talk about how I think we can fix the Grammys.